Top of the morning, fight fans. This is Kurt DeVille with Counter Punch Boxing News, and I am live for a special guest today. No other than Xavier Miller, the trainer or former trainer of Dillian White, Derek Chisora. We have many, many more accolades by this trainer, and he will be here shortly. And I know it's actually early for me. It's 7 a.m. US time, but it's, of course, over there. I suppose it's 1. So before I talk it up, let's chop it up, give you guys time to come in and check this out. We know this was a long time coming. I've been meaning to get Xavier on the show for a while, and everybody's busy, everybody's doing their thing, so I can understand what, the crosses, the cross ups and conflicting schedules and all that stuff, and it's crazy, man. I actually overslept, not from the interview, but I supposed to got up a lot earlier, and I did my thing for this morning, got my daily cachava, if you guys know anything about that, which is like a superfood blend, got everything up and at them, thinking about, certain questions to ask Xavier, concerning different fights, Xavier has been with Dillian White for quite some time, and you're looking at Xavier with his overall pedigree, and you have I believe five fights. We had the Povetkin fight, Daniel Pakar. What's up, brother? Counterpunch to you. The first Povetkin fight, which was massive, that was back in 2020. Then, of course, you had the rematch. They were preparing for the Otto Vilene fight. Then the Tyson Fury fight, the Alexander Povetkin 2 fight, right? So it was some quite a few fights that those guys that were together and did the duo with. So, before we bring them on, we just got a big up on Mr. Xavier. I don't know what you guys are doing. I don't know what you guys are in, but come on in. Luke Reynolds, hello to you. And I know people have things to do, but it's just crazy, man, what's going on in the sport of boxing right now. It seems like the lightweights are coming up on the rise. We're finally getting fights like Devin Haney and Lomachenko. And, we had Ryan, quitting in round 7, I think it was, against Javante Tank Davis. Then Canelo just recently went 12 whole rounds with a guy, John Ryder, tough, rugged, broken nose. Now he's on defense mode. Canelo is. So it's a lot of things that we got to discuss, with our special guest today. Can you guys hear me loud and clear? When you guys come in, hit that like button. Okay. Hit the like button. But, have a story about Xavier Miller, how we met. Shout out to Pro Bees. God bless the dead. We were on a live stream, yeah, Gypsy King's real quiet. Actually, I got a video talking about Tyson Fury a little later on, but, I think that, a lot of people, they're quiet for certain reasons. But anyhow, back to Xavier. I was on a panel with Xavier, with Pro Bees, me, Pro Bees, Xavier, and another gentleman. I can't remember who that was, but we met then, and we were on, I was on his panel until my live stream started. Real mellow fellow, real good dude. So, we chopped it up and we talked a lot about the fight itself that we were looking at. I'm trying to remember what fight that was. It had to be in 2021. So that was a couple years ago. And I we met then, and it's strange because, you know, Pro Bees is no longer with us. He passed right before the Joshua Usyk won, when Joshua was defending his belts against Alexander Usyk in the mandatory battle, and we already always kept, in contact and things like that. I would hit him up, he would hit me up, and things of that nature. And it looks like we're finally, getting it together. Um, Let me check here. Yeah, he's just wrapping up some sparring real quick. Um, Abiola. Hey Kurt, how are you doing? Man, I'm good, man. I'm well rested, man. I had a crazy dream last night, man. It was just wild. You know what I mean? Nico the best. You were both backing White, man. Everyone likes to team up against Fury. Well, you look at Dillian White, and based off, he was real quiet and he looked like he was working hard. Big up. You got the pronunciation of my last name. Uh Pitch perfect. You used to butcher it at the start. Well, hey man, we got to learn sometimes, Daniel. Quiet SP. What's up, Kurt? It's on. It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while, man. You know, Quiet SP. Absolutely. You guys come in, hit that like button. Um, yeah, I was trying to see what that left hook was going to do, man, but he never landed that left hook. Of course, when Tyson Fury last year, man, did what he did to Dillian White, you know, you can't help but to give credit where credit's due. I mean, Tyson was just better all around. He just was. I mean, he was just you. It's nothing else you could say. Yeah, I was going for Dillian White. I thought Dillian White, with the struggle and all that long, drawn out BS, between him fighting and taking the WBC to court, threatening to Mauricio talking shit or trying to keep him back, throwing Dominic Brazil in there to get a shot before him, all that crazy stuff, because Dillian White, to be fair, should have fought Deontay Wilder regardless of what the outcome would have been. But understand, you know, people wait for opportunities, and while they're waiting for opportunities, their prime or their peak is fleeting. They're not the same fighter. Once you wait and you wait and you wait and you do some more waiting, you really find out you're like, well, you know what, man, you know, I don't really think I have it. You could wait yourself out, man. You know what I mean? And in the meantime, while he waited, he fought a lot of guys, a lot of people. I'm just waiting for the Josh versus Wilder announcement. Yeah, yeah, definitely. You know, Karma Boxing and MMA salute heavyweight counterpunch boxing. That's it, brother. And I've noticed a lot of people like, man, you love heavyweight boxing. Yes, I do. I do. Um, but to be fair, I do cover all boxing. Except for women, I leave that for other channels to do. But where it's light heavy, super middle, super welter, you know, light welter, right? I cover it all. It's just my channel gets more steam, okay, based on heavyweights. I just, people just come here for heavyweight boxing. I can't do anything about it unless I just only do lightweights. But why would I only do lightweight boxing? You know what I mean? I'm not going to start to try to break into something when it hasn't been broken into. So yes, we like it when someone goes the hard way to win a title. Yeah, yeah. But even though, I mean, he tried and he lost. He tried and he lost. It is what it is. You know, Shut was um underwhelming in the fight. I expected more from him. Well, yeah, we're going to talk about that as well because, it's going to be a nice recap on Dillian White and, what the game plan was. You guys need to come with some questions, some legitimate questions, not bullshit questions, not opinions, but a lot questions that Xavier can actually answer for you. You know what I mean? I think that would be more productive if when he comes on, which he'll be here shortly, ask Xavier what you think, could improve or what happened or whatever, you know. I get enough women boxing when my wife has a bottle of wine. Damn. Man, you don't have one of them wives that you get drunk and she beats you up, huh? Because man, I know chicks, man, they catch their husband drunk, they go in there and beat him up, and they wake up with knots and stuff all over, and says, "Yo, you got beat up at the bar." Who's Fury's next opponent? Do you think? Probably Andy Ruiz now at this point, because if Joe Joyce is doing what he says he's going to do, that leaves Tyson Fury with a limited amount he could fight anybody. So you have to look at Tyson like this. If he fights Andy Ruiz, that's the fight that he should have fought anyhow. So I mean, you can't be too pissed at Tyson because Ruiz supposed to fought Wilder, right? So that didn't happen. The money wasn't there or whatever, and Wilder thought, he was just, um, wasting his time fighting Andy. So, who is coming on? Xavier Miller, the former trainer of Dillian White, Derek Chisora, formidable trainer coming in, good friend, bars. Carl Williams at Counterpunch Boxing News. Hi, Kurt. I think White was not right on the night. I thought he'd do much better. Well, I mean, we all did. I did because I picked Dillian White. I was looking for the upset, but of course, I'm always for the underdog. Tyson Fury, when he fought Deontay Wilder, I didn't think he was going to beat Wilder. But when he beat Wilder, Wilder showed me everything he needed to show me about him. He showed me that he had no other gear. He showed me that his defense was trash. And he showed me that he didn't want to stop, but then he was pretty much defenseless. He was defenseless against anything that Tyson Fury threw. He damn near landed, especially the rematch. And that's when someone that's decided to take it to Wilder and beat him up, just go at him and fight him. Don't try to outbox him because what you're trying to do, you're giving him too much. You're giving him space and you're giving him time to think. If you don't do that with Wilder, you got him. Now, if you're a lanky, awkward, slow fighter yourself, yeah, you might get chinned. Especially if you don't have good footwork and this, that, and the other. Yo, Kurt, this Spence and Crawford talk is getting jarring. If you're going to get it on, do it. I am glad you don't give it much airtime. Daniel, I mean, what could we give Terrence and Errol? They sit there and talk on the phone like they're fucking homeboys, but nothing gets done. They talk about family. They talk about probably playing basketball and all types of other shit, but they don't talk about like, look, dude, let's get this fight done. And where was this friendly conversation when all this money was available for the fight to happen? It's you have to understand something about Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Yordenis Ugas, Andy Ruiz. Not much Andy. Andy's kind of been, because Andy's been free since 2019 when he deemed to have his own backing for a small amount of time against Anthony Joshua. But it just showed you how little Al Heyman thought of Andy Ruiz, because he's like, okay, you haven't been here long, but you sang with us. We'll let you go over to Eddie and make that DAZN money. But he won. Okay. Andy won. So Andy, of course, has earned he's earned what he's supposed to earn. He's earned that navigational tool to go other places. Those other fighters that I mentioned, Thurman and all those guys, they have not. Good morning from Alabama, Bomb Squad. Josh Goggins in the house. What's up? Shout out from Alabama, baby. That's the home of the Alabama Sledgehammer. Timothy Thomas, Kurt, what's good? Xavier Miller is or was too disciplined or a styled coach for Dillian, in my opinion. Well, I think a lot of trainers get thrown under the bus. I think they're the first to go. I think that's the first adjustment or change to be made. Nico the best. Tyson Fury made Wilder pay a little bit with swinging overhand right hands. Well, anybody that knows how to fight, that's not scared, that knows what they're doing, should. Tyson Fury was just the first one to do it, but Tyson Fury was the only one that was pretty much allowed to do it. Besides people that didn't have, like, they didn't have the skill set. Like Dominic Brazil and Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz was old. He was game. He was still dangerous because he can punch you, but he was old. Dominic Brazil just lacked damn near everything. Let's just be real. He was slow. He was big. He had no defense. You know what I mean? He was tough, but he thought he was going to be tough enough to take these big damaging shots from Wilder, and he was not. He just wasn't. Dylan said it takes a while to adapt to a new trainer, which is true, but I haven't seen any progressiveness in Dylan's attributes and skills. He's declined. Well, yeah, but if he was referring to Xavier Miller, I don't think that really applied, because Miller was with him since after the Oscar Rivas fight. When he fought Oscar, that was the last from him and his last trainer. Timothy, is true, he did. Ortiz did the very same to Deontay, but did not have Fury's bulk to recover. Well, Luis Ortiz got chinned in the second fight, but then Luis Ortiz, and you have to give like Al Heyman some type of special discernment, because he pretty much knew that an undefeated Luis Ortiz was old enough to then throw him in there with Wilder. Because if you look at it, if Ortiz would have beat Wilder, where would the heavyweight division be right now? I mean, where would it really be? Joshua would have probably fought Dillian White. He probably would have never fought Jarrell Miller. If Wilder, because see, Luis Ortiz, if he would have beat Wilder, they would have tried to make a Fury Ortiz fight. Or guess what? Fury probably wouldn't even came back to the sport. He probably would have done something else. He probably would have just focused mainly on UK boxers. Ortiz probably would have fought someone like not Jermaine Franklin, but Charles Martin, It would have probably stayed in house, or they would have definitely ran it back for Wilder. Wilder probably would have got it back, but then that would have been his overall. Luis Ortiz would have, he would have been the first, Cuban heavyweight champion ever, right? In the pros, because there were plenty in the amateurs. You know, I'm picking Joshua to win the fight over Joshua. Okay. I don't think Ortiz has the power to take down Wilder. That was the only flaw I can think of from Ortiz. Ortiz had power. It's just Ortiz could not land the shots he needed, and he needed more than just one shot. He's not a one punch guy. Now, he can hurt you with one shot. Look what he did to Charles Martin. He made that man stand up. See, Wilder didn't get a shot like that. But Wilder, I think over time, a lot of people look at this kind of backwards. Wilder was getting beat by Ortiz. He was getting beat by Ortiz. He took some shots. Wilder was a tough guy, but overnight, your chin can turn on you. It can turn on you. And that's what happens to a lot of fighters. Look at Chris Eubank Jr. Chris Eubank Jr. was just known to be a sturdy, tough, durable fighter that had never hit the canvas. And Liam Smith hit him and hurt him, and then you're in someone else's, you're in someone else's territory. You're like, okay, where am I? Look at Joshua, same shit. Joshua had been dropped before, but he never been hurt like that. So they didn't really know how to respond to being hurt. That's what happened to a lot of these guys. That's what happened. So when Wilder actually got hurt by Tyson Fury, man, it was he just didn't know what was going. You seen his eye? He was kind of like, he was spooked, bro. Joshua and Wilder looked the same. They did not know really what to do. I think Joshua was a lot more hurt, but then, they were still like, they didn't know where they were because they never been in that situation before. Kurt and Ortiz Wilder too. Ref should have stopped the fight. Wilder to a shacklacking until he landed the equalizer. What? Ref should have stopped the fight. Wilder to a shellac. No. What are you talking about? No. You mean in Ortiz Wilder 1, not Ortiz Wilder 2. Ortiz Wilder 1, he could have stopped the fight. But then Timothy, that's just like someone saying what they should have done. No. He could have done that, not what he should have done, because that's his own discretion. That's his own prerogative. He made a decision to keep that going. But you think that he was actually going, look, Ortiz could have hit him 5 more times. They wouldn't have stopped that fight. In fact, in the beginning of the 8th, they gave this man 28 more seconds just to recover. They, you know what I mean? They done that. They did that because they were backing the money guy. The money guy was the guy that they were trying to make a super fight with Eddie Hearns, Anthony Joshua. This is 2018. So this is Wilder making his plea, making his resume a lot more thicker than it ever been, fighting Ortiz. He drops Ortiz in the 5th round. Okay. Ortiz comes back in the 7th and hurts him badly with a right hook with several left hands, another right hook, body punching. He had him on the ropes. You know what I mean? The referee, did his part in pushing them apart. Yes, Wilder was hurt. Doesn't mean that the ref just should have stopped it. No, he could have stopped it, not should have stopped it. Hit the like button, fight fans. Nikki Blue Eyes Allstain in the building. Counterpunch to you. Great. Won't do past 5 rounds. Through all my thinking, I don't think Joshua versus Wilder will go past 5. Well, it might not. Let's hit that like button, guys. Let's hit the like button. We got 9 likes due to Timothy. Let's hit the like button. We got 24 people in, staggering in. I don't think Joshua versus Ruiz. I don't think Joshua quit versus Ruiz. He just can't continue that fight. He go up every time he got dropped. Well, what would have happened? That fight would have ended badly because nobody was telling Ruiz, nobody was nobody was warning Ruiz that you're hitting behind the head. Nobody was doing that. And see, what people don't understand is just because you're hurt or you get hurt by a fighter does not give that fighter that hurts you the right to start filing you just because he's got the upper hand on you. You still have to be able to look out for possible fouls within those attacks. It's tricky too, because at the same time, you don't want to be that person, that referee that stops the momentum. You don't want to do that, but then you shouldn't allow a fighter get an elbow in there, then an uppercut, then a punch to the ball sack, then a shot behind the head, then a solid left hook to the face. You know what I mean? That's a combination of fuckery. Okay, so we have to look at that how it is. I don't know why everyone underestimating AJ's punching power. Kubrat Pulev was saying AJ can't punch, but he got knocked out by AJ. He has more than enough to KO Wilder. Wilder's just known to be a knockout artist. That's what he's known for. What else is he known for? To be a good boxer? No. Really even to be a good anything. Strong, tough, hard. He was durable. We don't know how durable he is now. Say Xavier Williams in the house. The majority of the people are leaning that is it leaning or that learning that he quit, but he got dropped 4 times. Well, he got up. You know who quit? Ryan Garcia quit. He quit. If Joshua would have just stayed down there, that motherfucker would have quit. You can't say if he stayed down there crouched in that position, like, man, I'm so embarrassed. I done brought my ass to New York City, and this fat ass dude and beat my ass in front of a sold out crowd at Madison Square Garden. Do you know that okay. Did I tell you guys what happened that night? Did I tell you guys actually what happened the night Joshua got beat? I was at work, man. I was working a 9 to 5. And Daniel Dubois quit. Yeah, he did quit. Daniel Dubois made that decision on his own. But listen, man, I was working at a casino. And dude, I was doing my thing and I knew the fight was coming on. But I also knew at that point of time, we weren't really busy. They were kind of winding down, because it's the weekend, it's Saturday and all this stuff. And, I'm like, well, I'm not really too much worried about Andy Ruiz. Why? Because Andy Ruiz was the replacement fight. I would have went live had I been off, but then you got to keep in mind, this is 2019. My channel is doing well, was doing well. It was flourishing, but it was a lot of changes. Jarrell Miller popped dirty. Dillian White turned the fight down. They screwed over Luis Ortiz for the fight. Who else? Adam Kalnaki turned the fight down. They were looking at Michael Hunter and Andy Ruiz. They chose Andy Ruiz. Maybe because, Eddie thought the shit was funny, hilarious. Now let's pick Ruiz. He's a fat little funny guy. He keeps emailing me. Let's let him fucking fight. He can really fight. Don't stay there trying to box him. He'll get knocked out. Kurt Wise, that modern day fighters appear to be allowed to duck fighters so easily. Why not drop their rankings? Because the sanctioning body presidents are crooks. That's why. They won't allow that to happen, because if they drop a fighter from the rankings, they can't justify why a fight they can make. money on won't get made. See, if you drop the rankings, it makes it harder for a fight to be made based on a fighter that is marketable. Why do you think Wilder is all of a sudden number one WBC mandatory after being defeated twice back to back? I don't care what he went to get the third fight. He got the third fight and he lost the third fight against Tyson Fury. So why the hell is he number one? You know why he's number one? Because Mauricio Suleiman wanted him to be number one. Okay. That's simple. That's plain and simple. He wanted him to be number one. I was furious with Garcia, but because I felt like he could have continued. He could have continued. Abiola, he could have continued. He know that. I know you got the AJ merch, Kurt. It's okay that he quit. Well, okay. If you say so. You know, the man was getting counted as they did, and he wasn't on his knees. He wasn't on his back, and he wasn't on the ground. But I mean, that's your opinion. You know, you stick to it. I stick to mine. Nikki Blue Eyes Austin, your channel is the best boxing channel on YouTube. Oh, Nikki, appreciate you. Thank you very much. Shout out to Nikki Blue Eyes Austin. You know, you got to get that merch. You know, you got to hit me up on the gram, get that merch so I can send it to you. Crying Ryan also quit, Kurt. Thought long and hard, but stayed on his knees. Let me tell you something. People try to defend or try to justify AJ quitting because he spit out his mouthpiece. Everybody does that shit. If you guys see my first trainer's review, we seen actually the referee's review as well. We seen Corrales versus Castillo. And both times Corrales spit that mouthpiece out. But you would have some kind of balls to say that was his way of cheating. See, that just shows you what people don't know about fighters. If you've never been in the ring before, if you've never fought before, and you think spitting your mouthpiece out is a sign of quitting, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You don't know anything. What it does is it gives you time to breathe. One thing about breathing is so important because you have to be able to regulate your breaths and movement. You have to breathe as well as you have to move, as well as you have to defend. But what stops, what deters your breathing, what makes it more difficult are the ways that you have to breathe. Normally you breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. What if your nose is broken? You know what I mean? What if you got a fucking booger in it? You know what I mean? Seriously, this is all real shit. So when you get hit, you want to spit it out so you can take a solid, hindered breath. You don't want your breaths hindered. Okay. So you spit it out so you can breathe, you know, because you don't want anything away or anything in your mouth when you're breathing, right? Absolutely. I look forward to it. Nikki Blue Eyes Austin. The WBC is way too corrupt. I wish boxing fans could do something about the WBC corruption. No, I mean, I wish they could do something about all of them. The IBF has seemed to be the most honest and the most strict based on them being strict. Kurt, do you feel Tio Lopez has anything against a brother after his ESPN? No, I don't think so. I just think he wanted some attention. I think that he feels that he should be more than what ESPN supposed they. You know, this is what he thought. Tio thought that he was going to replace Lomachenko in the Bob Arum / Top Rank praise team. He thought he was going to get the same accolades. He thought that he was going to get the same everything, the same everything. He thought that he was going to get that. He felt, you know what? I'm getting what Lomachenko is getting. You know, instead, He's getting like a Terrence Crawford, like not even that. They shitted on Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford should be angry because Terrence Crawford never lost, unlike Vasily and Teofimo Lopez. Okay. So I don't see why T.O.'s pissed at all. T.O. should also keep in mind that his decisions to fight certain fighters affected the way ESPN looked at him. You just got to keep it real. T.O. didn't fight Loma again. He should have fought Loma again. You don't fight one. That's the problem with these fighters. These fighters don't want to fight everyone, and then they don't want to really seal the deal. You know, T.O. pulled a Tyson Fury. You fought and beat one guy, one amazing guy, but one guy, then you like, hey, I'm here. No, you got to do more than that. You just got here. You got here and you did something that people didn't think you were going to do. Now you have to continue your journey. You can't just sit there and, oh man, I beat Lomachenko. So guess what? I'm the man now. You know, and that's not how it works. Especially, you didn't knock him out like you said. You know, the scorecards were bullshit. Let's just be real. I think Teofimo Lopez won, but I don't think he won the way the scorecards reflected him winning. Then they offered him more money. Then he said no. And that was all ego. He said no because he's like, oh, well, he's dumb enough not to get a rematch clause. So why should I fight him? You're supposed to fight him because, first of all, there's more money involved. Second of all, it's not about you at all. You know what I mean? If you really beat him like you said, you could do it again. You know what I mean? That's what makes you. You know what I mean? That's what makes you. And then, see, T.O. forgot. The same person that made him is the same person that he forgot about. He thought he was going to take this torch and run off with this torch, you know, and fight whoever, and that's what he did. Even his father told him, like, look, I think he should fight Loma again. He didn't want to do that. He didn't want to do all that. You know, now T.O. went to the very next dude and lost. George Kambosos was an undefeated guy that was the mandatory, and he lost to him. Now, since he lost to him, and then T.O. didn't even want to rematch him, which was stupid, right? It was dumb. Then he goes and fights the Spaniard, Sandor Martin, and loses to him. You know, he wins another fight in between that, like back in August. So he beat that guy at 140. Then he loses to Martin, but he gets the decision. And then he still wants to say, oh well, ESPN is against. No, bro. Teofimo Lopez is full of shit. His ego got too big, but don't fret, because so did George Kambosos. George started calling himself the emperor just because he beat T.O. T.O. just beat Vasily, okay? So T.O. beat Vasily, he beat T.O. He called himself an emperor. I'm the emperor. You know what I mean? But he fought Devin Haney and lost to Devin Haney. You know, it's like everybody that gets that, you know, that supposed stripe turns into a bigger than life asshole. Yeah, I need to watch Teofimo fights. Don't know much about him. I mean, he's a good fighter, you know, somewhat of a catch and shoot type of fighter, but, you know, he has flaws, you know, and I think T.O., he needs to calm down, you know. Bob Arum loves Loma and Fury. Don't you see he's trying to insist that they are the best of all time? Well, Nico, the best. Tyson Fury just came around with a huge, you know, Tyson Fury is different. Okay. Loma, a lot of people loved Loma. Loma was ducked by a lot of people too. When Loma was Loma is now that guy that's going to be soon in a couple of years, George Campos. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be that dude. You know, Kurt, how long do you give Devin Haney at 135 after this fight? He ain't gonna stay past that. He ain't gonna fight Shakur Stevenson because it would be stupid to do so. Because Stevenson will mop him because uh Devin Haney looks like a skeleton. He looks like a skeleton when fighting, when making that weight. He's not the same dude. He needs to move to 140. I think Haney will beat Loma, and it will be a boxing match, not a knockout fight. Well, that's if Devin Haney can outbox Loma. Loma and then keep from round. He'll big, big, big. Kurt, what has happened to franchise? Is it dead? It should have not been existent, Timothy. They should have never made that damn bullshit. They should have never made it. They should have never made it at all. Because franchise fucked everything up. They started with Canelo. Then they started, and it's Mauricio's fault. You make a belt based on a belt that used to be somewhat legitimate, and you downplay you because this is what he did. He wanted a franchise champion to be something larger than life, something that can't be moved because based on how good that fighter did and all this stupid shit. So what you did, you dropped the regular WBC down for somebody else to pay those sanctioning fees, and then for somebody else to be a glorified honorary guy like that. Franchise sucked from here to high heaven. It did. So it shouldn't have been created. And see, all it is, Loma was really the WBC champion. He just was elevated, okay, to that particular thing. The only problem is, it's like you take a fighter from the duties of being a champion and you use politics to stop him from using or being that champion. So you stop making Loma the WBC champion to make him something that he doesn't have to lose, like the WBC. Then you give the WBC to whoever else can fight for it or you feel is legitimate, and that's what Devin Haney had. So in Devin's mind, it's like, look, I'm the WBC champion now, so I'm defending this belt now based on the things that I'm doing or what I've just received. He just received that because the crooked ass sanctioning president decided he felt a fighter was better than defending the belts for. So Loma was better than the title that he received. So let me make another title and you don't even have to defend that title. But I'm going to keep that and I'm going to give that to somebody else. It's all bullshit, people. It's all bullshit. So I hope it is dead. Looking at Devin training, he looks to be focusing more on power punching. Well, that's good. I would rather a stoppage than anything else. That would seal the deal for Devin Haney. Not the boxing, because see, Devin Haney will never get credit for something that he does really well. Especially with a guy that is known to be a fighter and a stopper. Like Loma. I believe Kurt will be rooting for Lomachenko. I'll be rooting for whoever wants to win. You know what I mean? Like, Devin is young. It's his time. I was there live with Bill Haney to watch Devin become a contender. Now he's a unified, undisputed champion, undefeated. But I do not want to see another performance like he did with Kambosos. However, Loma's no Kambosos. Kambosos was not a guy that, I think he didn't have what it took to make Devin Haney fight another way. Will Loma be that person? We don't know. We don't know what Loma has left. I just know that he could. I know that he used to be But this fight will just show us more than just is Devin good. We all know Devin's good because he's young and hungry. I don't know how hungry are now because he has everything that he at 135 that he could ask for by beating Cambosos. But this fight will let us know between Loma and Devin Haney. Is Loma a has-been or not? That's what this fight will teach us. Is he a has-been, or or is he a person that still has it? That's what we should know and learn about this fight. Kurt, on your style, what type of fighter would you be? Length, boxing, sweet science, or Mexican? Or Mexican? It wouldn't be a Mexican. I'm sorry, it wouldn't be Mexican. If I wanted to walk around punch drunk, I would fight Mexican. No, it would be a combination of boxing and attacking. Okay. So you got to know when to turn it on and turn it off. See, I wouldn't be a kind of guy I wouldn't be an Edis Landilada. I wouldn't be that. I wouldn't be an Edis Landilada at all. But no, I would be definitely a combination guy. Use your jab, use your attributes, use your height. You know what I mean? If you're fighting someone shorter, it's about the style that's in front of you. Not necessarily what type of fighter you are. I think if you're talking about what type of fighter you are, that's really all about ego, to be real with you. Oh, I'm this guy. Well, if you're this guy and then you got another guy that's across from you that knows how to fight you being this guy, well, then you're in trouble, aren't you? Hit the like, support our man. I know, right? Kurt, you are a tank at the heavyweight division. I don't know. I heard my punches are very damn hard. But I mean, that's just based on the people I sparred. Bars. I just heard good news. I just heard from Xavier. So he's gonna pop on, so you guys, can listen to him and his journey, and we'll start from the beginning, of course, because we want to see the accolades from Xavier Miller, because he did have a huge opportunity to have the honor to train one of the top heavyweights, of our era, Dillian the Body Snatcher White, and the bruiser, the brawler, the baller, Derek Chisora as well. So, he'll be here in a few minutes. He's just wrapping up a sparring session. So, so he will be in. Is the remainder of Charlo's career going to be just about calling people out? Waste? Yeah, pretty much. But let me tell you, Timothy, this is Charlo. This is Jamal. Jamal Charlo is an Al Heyman fighter. Al Heyman fighters fight when they're told to fight. When they do fight in the bulk of their career, they were getting paid a lot more money. Now they're not. Now everything is about pay-per-view and, hey, do it yourself, bud. Good luck. Okay. But the fights that they want with other fighters, with other promoters, that shit ain't going to happen. The Jaime Munguia fight, Jaime Munguia and Jamal Charlo supposed to have made history with their fights. That fight would have made history because Jaime Munguia is a guy that's going to come forward and he's going to test Jamal Charlo. But it never been made. Why? Al Heyman didn't want it to be made. Oscar De La Hoya has his own ego and own bullshit going. So when you got two guys and two promoters saying what's not going to happen, we're not going to see a fight. Are you a counterpuncher based on your name? I love counter punches. They're the most devastating punches that you can ever hit anyone with. A counter. Because it's an attack after an attack. But if we're using this verbally, It's what you reply with versus what someone comes to you with. It's the reaction, the reply, the rebuttal. That's exactly what it is, you know. And we have Mr.
What have I not done? Hold on a minute.
Xavier in the building. What's up, brother Xavier, man? How you been doing? How was the session?
Probably me. 1 second. Yeah, can you hear me, champ? I can hear you. Can't hear you. Yo, champ, I'm just doing an interview. I'm going to call you back.
No worries.
All right, see you in a minute. Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. I'll speak to you a bit later about it. You good?
Oh, are you
What do you need? It will be soon. You're going to cut the thing?
Yes, please. So what do you think? Should we just say yes? Or should we just look for someone else?
I'll keep... Yeah, set it up. Keep that one in mind, but I'll still keep looking anyway.
Okay, fine.
This ain't enough to put your hand.
It was actually fine today up until I grabbed him. And actually held him properly that time as well. But it's just... Thank you. Jesus, take this meal.
Yes, Kurt.
All right, we're in the building. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah, champ.
Nice. Yeah, I had to get everything set up, man. How was your session?
Hard. Yusuf just done 10 round sparring, so yeah, everyone looks good, you know.
Nice, man.
Can't complain.
Man, you know, I was telling my audience, man, we're here live, and I was telling them about how we met. Shout out to Pro B's, you know, God bless the dead. We were on the same panel watching a live together, you know, and you know, first that just makes me think about Pro B's, man, and hardworking brother, you know, and a good friend of mine, and he is the common denominator between the great Xavier Miller and Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News. And
shout out to him, man. I mean, he's the one that, because he's the one that gave me the nickname. Him and Shaz from you know, the Pep Talk UK. Yeah. He said he came to my gym and he said, "Well, you know, you've got all your boxers and your name's Xavier, so they're your X-Men. So I'm going to call you Professor X." So that's
Professor
where he come from.
Yeah.
People just think I name myself Professor Miller. It's actually Pro B's that actually gave me that name. So shout out to him, man.
So yeah, shout out to Pro B's, man. And it's like, and I know this was a long time coming, you know, between doing what you do and doing what I do, you know, so we had conflicting schedules. I'm glad we're here, man. Tell us about who you're training. We all know this is the great X-Man Xavier Miller coming in from Counterpunch Boxing News, the former trainer of Dillian White, Derek Chisora, and many others. Introducing Mr. Xavier Miller.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, I've got a thriving stable at the moment. You know, I'm just in a very good place. You know, I'm always at my best when I'm in my own gym, working with my my good friend and business partner, another head coach, Nick. And yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of guys coming up, guys we built in the amateurs that are now pros. You know, 7-0, 8-0. You know, biggest fight coming up at the moment will be June 10th. Yusuf Kamari v Reece Bellotti in a British title eliminator. And yeah, Yusuf's been on Matchroom about 3 or 4 times now. You know, and has always looked the part. So I'm looking for him to go a long, long way in his career. I think he's 27 this year. This will be his 18th fight. So yeah, he's in a very good place. You know, other fights I've got female boxer Sadem Amar, welterweight, really good prospect coming up. She just had her debut a few weeks ago in Belgium. She'll be out again the week after Yusuf, June 17th. We've got Ahmed Hatim. You know, my business partner is his head coach, but I'm part of Ahmed's team. He'll be out June 17th. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. I've got a good 6-7 pros in my gym right now. I've got an outstanding heavyweight who's basically sparred everybody. Sparred Dillian White, Derek Chisora, Fraser Clark, you know, Jamie TKV. He's been around. He's only 21 years old. Just had his debut the other day. Albanian, got a massive Albanian following. So yeah, he's another one that came out of my amateur gym. So yeah, I mean, you know, what I got involved in the sport for was to build guys from scratch, or I like being part of their debut, because then you're part of the journey from the beginning. So
right.
That's my favorite part really, is, you know, debuts going forward and planning what we're going to do next, moving on to domestic level, then European level, and ultimately, you know, everybody wants to be involved in world-class boxing. So yeah, Jim's doing great right now.
Man, that's awesome. You know, and it's a special kind of reverence when you have someone from the very, very beginning, and you know what their weaknesses are, you know what their strengths are, and you know how they are when they come up and they just evolve into this person, especially when you project them to be and they're doing and they're exceeding far past what you expected. But you see the whole picture. You don't see a guy that was with this guy and then you hear rumors and, you know, of what this guy did, and you don't have to worry about any of that with someone that you know from the beginning.
Exactly. It's just like you're coming in clean. You know, you're starting, you're building your blocks, and you know, as you said, you know, you get to see from the beginning where these guys are going. And I'm very realistic. I'm very realistic and very honest with all my boxers. You know, I know they can't all reach world-class level or European level or Commonwealth level. I know that from very early. You know, I'm very realistic with expectations, but you know, for some of them, a domestic title can feel like a world title. And to me, if you've done that, especially if you haven't come from a long amateur background, you've overachieved. So I said, don't look at anybody else's journey. Only ever look at your own, you know? And
Right.
yeah, they all know that. Obviously, every now and then you'll get that random phone call. You get an opportunity because guys, you know, big name promoters will go on Box Rec. Oh, this guy's, you know, 8-0, 9-0. This would be a good time to fight him now. He will look good on the record of my guy. So you might get that phone call. And I always say to my guys, please stay in the gym. Because if you've only ever boxed on small shows and then all of a sudden you get offered money, you know, 9 times out of 10, you're going to take it. And if you're going to take it, then be ready, you know, and give yourself the best chance to give the best effort. And, you know, every now and then there's upsets. So there's different ways, you know, different ways to go about this business. Some guys are lucky, you know, they get that phone call, could only get 2-3 weeks notice, and they put up an upset because guys in their hometown are always really confident. They train for one particular guy. Now you brought in someone else in, and you know, he caused an upset, a la, you know, Joshua and Andy Ruiz. You know, it
Right.
happens, and Andy Ruiz took his opportunity again. You know, I don't know where his career would have gone, you know, without that particular fight. He's always been a good fighter, but that was his moment to step up and go. So you've always got, if you're in the gym every day and you're working hard and you dedicate yourself, you've always got a chance. You've got a chance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, when you're talking about boxers and they're always ready or the constant grind with sparring, what is the protocol in general? We'll start in your gym.
Mm.
How often do you record sparring sessions between fighters? Because you've mentioned like, hey, my fighters have been in there with Derek Chisora or Dillian White, etc.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got,
You know, the guys
as a,
that you're standard from all the time, or is it just sometimes, or just something that you use for your own personal use? How does that work in your gym?
in my own gym, I record sparring between my fighters, or if there's a coach that I know very well, you know, I'll record the sparring and I'll share it with them. If it's a gym that I feel down the line might be the opposition, then yeah, normally I don't allow sparring. If you're called in for sparring, let's say for a camp, you know, you're obligated to do what they tell you. So if you, let's say if a big name fighter calls you and says, yeah, we need sparring for 5-6 weeks, we're going to pay you to come out there, you can't really question them recording sparring, because what they're doing is they're sparring, doing their homework, coming back and working on things. You know, so it's all good and well getting in there with these names, but as a coach, you have to be clever enough to know at what stage are you going to stop. Because let's say someone like Yusuf Kamari, you know, he sparred at Matchroom before, but you know, you've got other good guys down there, like, you know, Joe Cordina, you know, they sparred, I think back in 2017. Yusuf was still an amateur, hadn't had his pro debut yet. You see, that's okay. But for me to go and send Yusuf into a training camp now with Joe Cordina now would be crazy, because down the line, that might be an opponent. So you just got to know, you know, when to say no. That's all it is. It's just gauging where your fighter's career is, and just knowing when it's time to go and when it's time to pull it back. If it's a full training camp, I like to do most of my sparring in-house so I can record it, sit down with my fighters, and, you know, we free frame and go over stuff and, you know, pull it back. You know, why were you in this position? You should be making this move. You know, don't get involved in too many 50-50s. Be aware of where your body position finishes after you punch, so you're not in a position to be hit with a fight-ending shot. You know, it's all those things we sit there and talk about. So, and, you know, the longer you've had your boxer, you know, the more they understand the language you're speaking. So with the sparring, honestly, like it depends where the fighter is in their career. And some guys at domestic level, you know, they're not making good money. You know, they haven't got a choice but to go into a training camp and get paid. You know, like at the highest level, these sparring partners get paid pretty good money. You know, they get their accommodation covered, their hotel, their flights. They get paid every week for sparring. I mean, these guys have got normal jobs. I mean, that's a bonus for them. So, like I said, it depends where you are in your career. There's 2 or 3 guys in my gym that I would send out to a training camp right now, because they're at that stage in their career, or they're more at the tail end of their career and they're just looking to make some money. So, like I said, everyone's career is different. You gotta know what you're doing with your boxers. That's all.
No, that makes a lot of sense. On this channel, on this platform, I'm all about people learning something about the sport. I think that's really important. So the terms when you mentioned don't get into 50-50s. Can you explain that?
Yeah, because I was taught a particular style of boxing at a very, very young age. We were taught to transition from offense to defense, smoothly.
Right.
A lot of times it's not the best idea in the world to throw a punch when someone's going to throw a punch, because to me that's a gamble. I mean, you're already climbing them steps and getting in that ring. You're already gambling with your life as it is. You're already exchanging punches with an opponent. So you've got to know when to go. And a lot of times you'll fight a certain style and you're just naturally quicker than the guy. So you can punch at the same time with them because you're going to get there first. There's
Right.
other times where guys are very good at delaying when they're actually going to throw, and they bait you to throw at the same time, knowing that maybe they carry more power. So that trade-off to me is not worth it. There's some guys, everyone's got like a different level of power. I mean, I always talk about guys who've got a really high KO ratio, let's say at domestic level. You're fighting for an English title, British title. And then when you go up to world level, that power don't mean nothing to those world-class guys. I think there was a domestic fighter, I think it was Tennyson. I think he boxed, is it Tevin? What's his name again? Really slick southpaw, American, very cute. He was gonna fight Tank at one point. I always forget his name, but he's very
Gary Russell Jr.
Not Gary, the other one. He's one of my favorite ones. I don't know why I just forgot
Shakur
his name.
Stevenson.
No. He doesn't have much power, but he's got a lot of skill with southpaw. But yeah,
very slick. I know you're talking about.
Very slick. He was signed to Matchroom.
Matchroom, yeah. He was one of Eddie's fighters. No, not Campbell. No.
Not Tevin Farmer.
Tevin Farmer.
It's Tevin Farmer. Yeah, so he fought a guy called Tennyson, British guy, and Tennyson's got a huge KO ratio over here. But when he was fighting, Tevin, he couldn't. That power didn't mean anything to him because Tennyson's been at a much higher level than that. So there's different ways of gauging power. You can come in there sometimes with like 14 knockouts out of 16 fights, but against who? So the power is like it depends on the boxing. It depends on your boxing. If you notice with the elite guys, they seem to be able to take a shot better than your average boxer. For some reason they just seem to be more durable. The world class or elite guy just need to be more durable for some reason. So yeah, you got like I said, with the 50-50s, you just got to know when to go. And then the other one is obviously, you're throwing straight shots, you're throwing bent arm shots. I mean, logically, most times if you're throwing a straight punch, you're going to get it before someone throws a bent arm shot like a hook. So again, you just got to pick your time. It's a lot going on in the ring at the same time. So it's not easy to obviously do everything correct all the time. That's why we do have knockouts. That's why people do make mistakes. But generally, when you get in there, you have to think about when you're going to set up your attacks and when you're going to punch.
That makes a lot of sense. 50-50. So depending on defense and offense, make sure you get your shots off. We do make mistakes, but then again, you're taking a gamble with a 50-50 exchange. I understand that quite well.
Always. Especially at the heavier weights. The lighter guys, if you notice, they're pinging each other all over the place, like a Barrera Morales. They might have decent power, but it's different. When you go up to a cruiserweight heavyweight, you go 50-50 with somebody who can hit just as hard as you, then usually, it's a gamble. But if we didn't have these kind of fights and this kind of excitement, then boxing wouldn't be what it is.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, I absolutely agree. With heavyweights, you can't make that type of mistake. That's why you do have a lot of tentative exchanges in heavyweights and light heavy.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas when I come up, I was actually a welterweight. Okay. So, this is 20 years ago. But I noticed that I kind of swayed away from the exception of watching David Tua or Mike Tyson, somebody that I liked. I swayed away from heavyweights because I'm like, okay, these guys are boring. They throw one or two punches and they hold, they clinch.
Mm.
Whereas like you used Morales,
Pereira,
Barrera, man,
unbelievable.
dude, these guys went back and forth for just 12 rounds straight. I'm like, wow. But I do understand, and it's a reason for rhyme because these guys will knock you out up there, and you can't afford to get hit with those shots.
No, you can't.
So, man, it's crazy because you were sitting here talking, and we got a lot of questions that a lot of people wanted to ask. From Timothy Thomas, what's your opinion on Jermaine Franklin as a fighter?
Yeah, again, you have to do your homework. Obviously the casual fan, they're not really interested in particular fighters until they're involved in a big fight.
Right.
But if you do your homework on him, I know he's like a national champion or won Golden Gloves or had maybe 100 maybe amateur fights, like an Andy Ruiz. These guys are very well schooled. Their fundamentals are very good, and they've been around the block. So he was someone that I was looking at for obvious reasons. But I always liked Jermaine. I even watched. I think he did a short episode on Showtime when he was first coming up because I think they were looking to maybe invest in him because he's a good fighter. And I've seen where he come from, and anytime you come from like that Midwest area, and these guys, good stiff jabs to the body, good stabs, defensively responsible. It's a good fighter, Jermaine. And that's why he's come over here and he's done a good job both times. He's a good fighter. He needs to learn to finish stronger, but he is a good fighter. I am a fan of him. I do like him.
Yeah, he's I've been watching Jermaine Franklin since I remember he was one of Dillian White's opponents or possible opponents before Dillian White actually fought him. And because I think Dillian was going to make a U.S. debut or he was going to come over to the U.S. of A. and fighting. Jermaine Franklin was one of those selected fighters. And that's when I caught a whim of him because I never heard of him before that. Honestly, I never heard of him. But when I start watching him, like, okay, this is a pretty sturdy cat. Again, you're looking at the opposition because you don't really know who he's fought. But looking at the way he fights, and the way Dillian White fights, I think those style matchups will be very interesting. And I was right. And
fun fight.
Speaking of Jermaine Franklin and Dillian White, why do you think you weren't a part of that camp?
Oh no, we'd split. We'd parted ways. So that was
Okay.
it wasn't anything complicated. I came back home to my gym, and Dillian moved out to the US to train with Buddy McGirt. We still talk, but we just went our own ways. So it's normal in boxing. Fighters move around all the time, and I've always said, I think it's completely up to the boxer. If the boxer feels he needs to make a change, or a boxer wants to add on to the team, or it's their career. You have to respect it and leave it at that. I never go into any real detail about it because life's funny. You never know. You end up working with that fighter again. Boxers leave and come back. It's happened in my gym before. So that's just boxing. It's part of it. It's not for you. That's why you can't afford to get emotionally invested. It's you've got a job to do, and you want to do it to the best of your ability. But yeah, I was a fan of Dillian before. I was actually in the opposite corner when he boxed Derek the second time. I was a second with Don Charles. Don Charles was the head coach. So and yeah, I went to his 6th or 7th pro fight I think it was in Camden. This is before I even met Dillian. I think it was Don that said to me, "There's a good kid coming up. We got a good heavyweight over here in the UK. Do you want to come out? I'm going to a show in Camden, which it's about 25 minutes from my house." So Don picked me up and we went down there. Like I said, I never met him. We just went to watch him. I said, "Yeah, it's a good prospect." And you look how far he's gone with his career, and that was years and years ago. This must have been, I don't know if it's 2013, 14. I don't know, maybe just before that. I don't know. I can't remember. But yeah, long time ago.
So, you know, because this is what normally happens that I witnessed with certain fighters. If they lose, the trainer becomes the stunt man. They become the fall guy. They become the person that takes the blame, you know, for things not happening the way that they planned it to happen. You
Yeah,
know, and
that happens, but that wasn't the situation with us. Ours is
right.
very confidential because we still talk. Remember, Dillian, Dillian's done a good job looking after two of my fighters. He manages Yusuf Kamari, and he manages my female fighter Sadem Amma. So me and the team, we still talk. So like I said, he's out in America. Who
Mhm.
knows? One day he comes back. You don't know. That's why I always like to leave clean. And
Right, right.
I don't like speaking negatively about anybody because you look silly down the line if you do that. I always leave the door open for my boxers because I've been around so long. I've seen guys come in and out. I just know how it works. So I love the sport so much, and I appreciate and respect all these fighters that I always respect their decisions. Always.
No, no, that's good. You know, it's a good clarifying factor to let people know, like, no, there's no bad blood because despite what people think, you know, I mean, it happens, you know, and this
All the
is the
time.
difference. Yeah, you know what I
I
mean, and
think
this
I
is
think
not the
football
case.
I think football managers have a much harder time than we do, because over here
Yeah.
we've got the Premier League. Obviously, you got the greatest players in the world playing in probably the greatest league. But every couple of weeks you hear a manager getting fired because they've lost like 4 or 5 games in a row, or even if you
Mhm.
finish high up in the table, the new season comes and the manager's gone. These guys to me have it worse because they're playing games every maybe 2 3 times a week. So every time they walk out on that field as a manager, you're under pressure. Like with us as boxing coaches, you got a long build up for your fighter to go out. Like they fight like top level guys maybe fight a couple of times a year. Your other guys like 4 or 5 times a year. It's different to me. It's a different kind of pressure altogether. I think football managers have got it hard. I think I've got it easy actually.
Well, that's cool, man. I'm glad you guys are in good standing, unlike other fighters and their duos with their trainers. And it does get emotional because they do get emotionally invested in all this stuff, you know.
You need
So
to.
it's good to see that you take it from a promotional or a professional standpoint, you know, with whatever happened. But you know, it's just amazing to see the truth behind everything. You know, like,
Mhm.
oh man, it just, you know, okay, Dillian lost the fight, then he changes a trainer, then people assume that it was a fallout. You know,
Nah,
so but
and he's
this
not,
was
and he's
nothing
not,
like that.
and he's not that kind of guy anyway.
Right,
He's
right.
not that kind of guy.
Okay.
He's not that kind of guy.
Here's the next question from the trenches that we call it in the comments. This is from Quiet SP. Yeah, also, what do you think of the tournament in Saudi? And what are your thoughts on the Fury Usyk situation? Huh.
I don't know too much about the tournament, to be honest with you. I know there was some mention of Wilder and Joshua, but I don't know too much about it. The only thing to me that should be happening is Usyk v Fury. I don't anything outside of that at the moment doesn't interest me because I think more emphasis needs to be put on fighters becoming undisputed. I like what Haney's done.
Right.
Clean up. Well, heavyweights you can't go any further, but if you're in the lower weights, pick up all those straps, clean up, and then move on. I do like that. And it's in recent times. I think in the last couple of years we have had quite a few undisputed champions. Now I know obviously Josh Taylor, Haney, obviously Carissa Shields has been doing good work. But I want to see more of it. Once you get all the belts, like there's no more discussion. Like I know once you're the champion, as good as these other guys are in and around Haney, I don't really want to hear about them because to me, Haney's the one that's got all the belts, and that respect should be there. You shouldn't be talking about anybody else being number one. You can talk about number two, number three, but number one is him, and he's earned the right because he got all those belts. There
Right.
shouldn't be to say because another guy's he's your preference or your favorite fighter. You want to put him in front of someone with all the belts, then no. And to be honest with you, if you really think that it's a case where I can beat him. Well, you in one fight you can go and get all his belts. Go and fight him then. But obviously, there's a lot of hesitation in and around it. There must be a reason. You know, maybe he's a handful. I don't know what's going to happen with Lomachenko because he's a very good fighter. But I'm saying at this moment in time, give the guy his respect. He's young. He's traveled twice, and he's got all the belts. To me, you just put a line under that, and then you have conversations outside of him, unless you're looking to fight him. But that's what I want to see more of. You know, I want to see Usyk, Fury. I want to see who's the best. I personally believe that Usyk will beat him. It won't be easy. He's extremely tall, Tyson Fury. I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah,
you know, it's not going to be easy. But I don't think he's boxed anybody quite as skilled as that. And I'm always a fan of the guys coming up from the lower weights, coming up to heavyweight. You know, Evander Holyfield, my favorite fighter of all time. I think it's crazy what he was able to achieve, and always fighting bigger guys. I like that Michael Moorer came up. I think he might have been the first undisputed southpaw heavyweight champion. You know, these guys that come up from the lower weights, be careful, because they're so used to boxing guys that their weight. When they fight heavier guys, they're slower, and everyone always thinks it's the bigger guy that's got the advantage. But I've never looked at it that way. I look at the skill set, and I think Usyk is slightly more skilled. But you know, again, listen, it's a good fight. Let's see it. You know, there's other guys in other weights as well. I think. Sorry, no disrespect, Charlo, another one, undisputed. Respect.
Right.
You know, you can talk about number 2, 3, but right now he's the guy that's got the belts. If you think you're better than him, you should be looking to fight him. So that's the way I look at these fights coming up. Is I want to see who's cleaning out everybody in their division. And we had 2 of our best guys over the last good 10, 20 years. You know, Floyd and Pacquiao, and I don't think they were undisputed in any weight division, even though they were multiple champions. Our last welterweight was probably Zab Judah. Too long. Get Errol Spence, get Crawford in there. Let's get an undisputed champion. It's been if Zab Judah was the last guy, that's a long time ago.
Long time ago.
And people will forget what boxing is actually supposed to be about. So it's about who's number 1.
Hey, I agree with you. Especially, I agree. I think Usyk would beat Tyson. I don't know. You can agree, disagree, but this is my opinion. I think the reason why those negotiations drug on, or hurdles just appeared in those negotiations, because I think that fight was a lot tougher. Or I think Usyk was a greater threat to Tyson Fury than people want to realize. That people want to admit. Like, okay, well. Because we've seen Otto Vailene, we've seen Tom Schwartz, we've seen these fights easily get made. The Derek Chisora 3 fight. Those fights just got dropped out of the sky. But then, you have this fight that has nothing to do with Matchroom, DAZN, no network, anything. It's just Usyk. Usyk is a free guy. He's a free bird. He can fight anywhere. He can fight on Showtime. He can fight on DAZN. He can fight Matchroom. He can fight Queensberry. He can fight anywhere. And it didn't get made, and I look at that and I'm like, well, man, you got a guy that took 30%, and that kind of opened everybody's eyes in the boxing world. I know you heard about the 30% he took, and I'm watching King 3 with my father, and it broke right in there, and it kind of threw me off because I'm watching this good movie. It was a great movie, and when I heard Usyk say, hey, I'll sip, he's speaking English, and, it takes a lot of concentration when you got someone that primarily speaks Ukrainian. Then he ups and says, hey, Tyson Fury, I'd accept your offer. 30-70. And I'm like, wow, like, I don't know anybody that would do that, honestly. So that kind of was like, whoa, that's a real big sacrifice to make a fight, especially a fight to that magnitude, and you're getting so little for that amount. But
I've got mixed, I've got mixed feelings. I mean, as much as I really do like this social media era, I really do, because I think it's a great way for fighters to, reach out to their fans. It's a good way for fighters to get built. But you see the negotiation part of boxing, I think it should be done behind closed doors. I don't like when these things come out, because obviously it gives boxing channels an opportunity to create headlines and conversate, and that's what we do. You know, we go to the barbershop, or you're watching boxing with your friends, we all conversate. I understand that, but like the hardcore business end, for me, it shouldn't get out. You know, it should be confidential. You know, the only thing we should be hearing is that, okay, there is some talks, but details, to me, that shouldn't come out. And I think that's causing a problem, because then certain promoters will keep saying that certain fights are going to happen, and where we've got this far, the next minute it doesn't happen. Well, really, I like it when it's quiet. When it's quiet, I feel like something is in motion, something's happening. But when there's a load of stuff coming out, I'm like, this ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen that. I've seen that story too much time. And obviously, because I've had in-house experience, I've heard certain conversations, certain things going on. Most of the time, I know when it's capped. I know, so I don't really pay that much attention. I just like, okay, if you guys are talking, that's fine. That's something else to talk about today. You know, because I listen to boxing channels all the time, because it's hard to find people who are as interested in the sport as you are. You know, as a coach, like, boxing is my life. It's what I love. You know, I'll listen to different channels all the time. You know, I like hearing different people's perspective, ideas. These fans are very, very knowledgeable. You know, just because you're in the business, you know, training fighters and stuff, doesn't mean that you know it all. These guys have got great ideas. You know, they might have had family members that were involved in boxing at whatever level. You know, they've got a lot to bring to the table as well. That's why I like these discussions. But like I said, the actual business end, when fights are getting made, I don't like to talk on it. You know, when just let me know when it's happening. You know, otherwise I'm not into it.
No, man. Fair enough. Fair enough. Got another question from Timothy Thomas. Mr. Miller, what kind of trainer do you consider yourself to be? Do you just add, or do you strip and rebuild?
I never completely strip. Never. Because it depends. Like most, you know, I've been fortunate enough to start my own amateur club with my business partner and build guys through the amateurs, and then for them to turn pro. So we have a particular way we teach, a particular discipline, and those are the guys that's been easier for us to work with, because there's the communication's clear. When you do get fighters that's been with other trainers, they do have obviously good traits, and some of them have bad. Some of them have got away with making like fundamental mistakes for a long time, and because they've got away with it, if you try and take that away, or try and take all of it away and start again, one, you affect their confidence, because basically you're telling them that everything they're doing is wrong. I don't believe in doing that. I try and get the best out of you. You know, I had a few fighters sent to me, not that many to honestly, because I'm not really interested in working with that many guys outside my gym, because that's not what the model was built off. You know, me and Nick built a gym so we could build fighters out of our own gym. You know, I've had quite a few offers from other fighters to come to the gym, and most of them I said I'm not interested. And it's not because, and some of the guys I know them personally, it's because I just don't want to be known for that. You know, a lot of trainers who have got, you know, high profile trainers, they're known for training guys who have already been world champions or were already decorated amateurs. Like, you weren't part of that build. You weren't part of it. Like, you've already got a good product to move forward with. You know, that's not what I wanted. You know, I want to be associated with the guys that have come out of my gym, because they'll look at them and say, okay, right, they look a certain way. They're coming from IQ Boxing Club. To me, that carries a lot more value than, you know, training someone who's come from somewhere else. Obviously, every now and then, of course, who doesn't want to work with high-profile boxers? But to me, there is a limit. And at the moment, I'm very happy with what I got. If I got another offer to work with a high-profile boxer, it'd be very, very difficult at this stage for me to go and say yes. It would have to be a long conversation with my business partner, because it will affect what I'm building here. And, you know, that's not what you want to do, especially when I've got guys to a certain point in their career. It will be a gamble. So, yeah, again, stripping guys down and starting all over again is not the way. You know, a good example is Buddy McGirt with Arturo Gatti. You know, what Buddy did, you know, because I'm watching these guys from their debut, so I know a lot of these guys' journey. Arturo Gatti came into boxing as a very good boxer, a very good box fighter. You know, before he met Buddy, he was a good box fighter, but then he became a brawler. Buddy took him back to what he was good at. That's a good trainer. You know, he didn't strip him all the way down. He probably just reminded him, you came from a gym with the likes of Pernod Whitaker and guys like that. You know, you were a good boxer. Go back to your boxing. Maybe that's what he did with him. I don't know him personally, but that's maybe what he did. But when you try and strip someone too far back, you take something away. So yeah, that's not for me.
Now, when you strip everything away, do you think, in your opinion, do you think that's what happened with Joshua? Because Joshua's, he's all over the place. I know he's this sponge for information and, wanting to learn new things, but it's like every time you see him, he's trying something new. Of course, he was with a different trainer. So do you think that's the mistake they've made with him? Because a lot of people question, he sounds tentative, he looks this, he looks that, but do you think is that a good example, or is that not a good example?
I think too much is made of what Joshua's doing in his career. I think he's had an outstanding career. He won a gold medal. He's a 2-time world champion. Made some adjustments in the rematch with Andy Ruiz, and as a boxer, I think you naturally evolve. I think what a lot of people don't quite understand is, I think early in your career, you do naturally take a lot of gambles. You're in your prime. Obviously, you're at your very best. No matter what it is in life, you can't stop age and you can't stop wear and tear. And a lot of these guys do eventually become more human. As these boxers, they become more human. And he's maybe just a bit more aware. And at the same time, you have to appreciate the level of competition. He's been boxing good competition to me ever since he won a world title. His CV is up there with anybody right now in current boxing, in heavyweight current boxing. In some ways, you could say maybe his CV is stronger than Fury. There's an argument for that. So that means that he's always been fighting good guys. So you can't just go in there reckless. I know guys talk about, you want certain fighters to be a bit more aggressive, but it doesn't always work that way. So these guys, when they get older, they think more. If you think about Floyd, didn't Floyd not change the way he approached boxing? When he was younger, he was throwing multiple combinations and sometimes getting clipped, sometimes getting hurt. But then look at the version of him later on. He started to pot shot a bit more cautious. So I think it's natural that you do become cautious over time. I think you do. I think if you try and box like you boxed when you were younger, I think that's probably not going to work in your favor, because you're not the same guy. You have to move with the times, and you've got to make. It's just like trying to train in your prime, like as a 25-year-old, maybe 25 to 30, and you're trying to do that same training when you're approaching 40. You've got to be crazy. Your body's not the same. So you would naturally not do as much. Maybe you're better at navigating how you use your energy levels during the round. Maybe you don't have the same output you used to have. These things all come with time. To me, that's natural. I think the way Joshua fights now is natural for where he is in his career. Sometimes you get to a point in boxing where, it depends how much more are you willing to take. And you maybe start asking yourself some questions and start making some smarter decisions in there. Like, I think that's natural. So again, as much as people are sitting around and always have something to say, look at the positives. He's had an outstanding career. And, he was very, very stiff, very upright when he first got into boxing. He's found a style that's worked for him, and he's got good wins off of it. So, fair play to him. I think, it's always easy to talk about the negative, isn't it? That's what people do. It's easier.
Yeah. A lot of negative people out there, I mean, a lot of them, are just haters a lot of times, because they choose to talk about this instead of just really using a combination between the two. I like talking about a person. If I'm going to mention something negative, it's only fair to have, the opposite reaction to talk about something positive. But that's just
Absolutely.
me. But
Absolutely.
it's
just like what you said just now is exactly right. It's just like when you're training a fighter. If a fighter's coming to your gym every day and you're always going about what they're doing wrong, And then each day they come in, they're going to be hearing negativity. You got to balance it out. Okay, what you did here was good. That works, but let's also try this. Sometimes it's just the language and the way you talk to people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, man. I think that I think where people absorb your energy, especially with your comments. When you're talking about negative things, most of the time they're just going to view you. Oh man, if you were a coach like that, oh man, here you go. He's going to say something about my defense. My guard's too low. There he is.
I've been there. I've been there.
Yeah.
I think, and that's why I say it's no disrespect to today's boxing, but in terms of coaching, the way my coach spoke to me was extremely harsh. Like you could never do anything right, but it didn't matter who he brought to the gym. I beat them up though, but that's because it was like I wanted to prove to him it don't matter who you bring. You can say I'm doing this wrong, that wrong, but they can't beat me. So it worked in that way. There was a balance there. I always wanted to prove to him I was the best guy that he had, or no matter what gym we go to, I was the best guy going to be in that gym. But in this day and age, a lot of guys are very, very sensitive. They take what you say to heart, and they want to arm around their shoulder or talk to a certain way. I ain't that kind of coach. So yeah, different kind of generation. Sometimes you got to approach people in a different way, but at this stage in my career, it's the way I do things or you walk. That's where I am right now.
Oh man, no nonsense. We got another question from Ebenezer Slaw. Mr. Xavier, do you think Dillion's new cross defense tactics protecting him from the uppercut is something he can rely on?
It's not new. It's not new. If you go and look at Dillion's earlier fights, like his first 5, 6, 7, 8 fights, he can do all those different things. He's always been, again, reminding guys of what they used to do. That's the key. If they were able to do certain things at certain points in their career and they were good at it, sometimes just remind them, you know what, you were better at this stage, or, you already know how to do this, go back to it. So, yeah, in certain situations, when you're in exchanges or getting yourself in a defensive posture, cross-arm defense is very effective. Like I said, it all depends what works for you.
Okay, coming in from St. Don, Xavier. Speaking of AJ, what would you do with AJ?
Again, just remind him that he's a good fighter. He's got power, he's got strength. Especially when he's aggressive. And just remind him he's good at those things. That's all. Boxers come in the gym every day and they basically do the same things. It's a coach's job just to tweak things here and there, or just remind fighters that they're good at things. So, yeah, I think just remind him that he is a good fighter. That's the key.
Okay. This is coming in from Timothy Thomas again. He said, Mr. Miller, at 58, my hands get a little sore after sparring. In your opinion, what's the best gloves for support?
I think the key is the best wraps. You've got to find someone who professional, who knows how to wrap hands properly. I've got fighters in my gym all the time with hand problems. Sometimes it's the top of the hand, sometimes it's the wrist, the knuckles, variety of different problems. But what I found is I've got to wrap their hands in a certain way. Some guys have got weak wrists, so they'll need a lot of tape and bandage around the wrist area. The key is not always to have a bigger padding on your glove, because a lot of guys, what they do is they got sore hands or sore knuckles, and the first thing they do when they wrap their hands is put a lot of bandage here. But the problem is when you put your hand in the glove, you can't actually close your hand properly. The most injuries come from not being able to close your hand tight as a fist. So if you've got a lot of padding here and you've got a lot of padding here on your palm, then when you go to close your hand will be here. It won't be here, which is no good to you. So it's not always bigger padding is the key. It's the right amount of padding. Sometimes you might need less padding so you can fit your hand in the glove properly. So you know what I mean? And then again, gloves. Yeah. A lot of guys like to use bigger gloves, because it's a lot of padding. Sometimes using 10-ounce gloves and being able to close your hand really well, and on impact, your hand supported in the glove and your hand not moving around is sometimes better. So just try different things until you find what works for you. But don't keep doing the same thing, because it's not going to get better. You've got to change the way you're wrapping your hands or change the gloves you're using. You know, sometimes really high quality fight gloves, small gloves, sometimes they're the key. You know, but once you found, remember, there's so many different brands of gloves, and you'll see some fighters will say, you know what, I don't like fly gloves, and another boxer will say, you know what, no, I love fly. Some guys will say, I can only fight in rayas. Other guys will say, I don't like the feel of rayas, because they're all made different and everybody's hands are shaped differently. That's why there's so much different brands. You know, so again, hand wrapping, and finding the glove that works for you is the key. If that's the best way I can explain it.
Oh man, that's awesome.
I hope that, Timothy. I hope that helps. I hope that helps.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I think it should help Timothy. Let's see. What do you think about Joe Joyce and Zhilei Zhang? What did you think about the first fight?
I made money.
Yeah.
I made money. I think it would Joe. No, I made money on that one. It was just a matter of time. You can't take that amount of shots in heavyweight boxing and not pay a price for it. Eventually, you know, it's going to be an issue, and especially with these southpaws, the punches are coming from different angles.
Right.
You know, especially and heavyweights don't get to fight that many southpaws in their career. There's quite a few heavyweights, I think, that maybe have only fought one or haven't fought any at all. You know, so yeah, it's a bit different when you're training for a southpaw, especially a heavy-handed one. And again, do the research. Isn't Zhang maybe I don't know if he medaled, but he was a good amateur, right?
Yeah, and he was in the Olympics twice, I believe. I think he was in the trials twice.
You got to do your research. These guys, they've been around a long time.
Yeah, and it's real difficult to do that. A lot of people need to understand, like, you don't just get, even if you don't place, and you sometimes, okay, look at Sugar Shane Mosley. Take him, for example.
One of my favorites.
Great as he is, one of my favorite. I think he's probably one of the best lightweights ever.
Next to Roberto Duran, I think those two are the best lightweights.
And get this, he didn't make it to the Olympic trials, let alone twice. You know, Vernon Forrest, you know, bumped him off, but then,
rest in peace. Yep.
Rest in peace. Yeah, man. But Zhilei Zhang did it twice. You know what I mean? So
same with Wilder. People always talk about Wilder. He's not this, he's not that, but he got a bronze medal, didn't he? And for some reason, you want to talk about this, talk about that, but the right hand keeps landing. Are you telling me there's not a certain skill element there where you find the target every time? You've either knocked them down or knocked them out every time, and it's just luck. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. He's found what works for him, and he does have a skill set. That's why he's done what he's done. Can he box as good as some of the other guys? No, but he's found something.
Yeah. I think Wilder, he throws people off with the way he explains. Oh, well, it's my power. Yes, that's your power, but you need skill to throw that power. But you also need a lot of different things. And I think he makes people think that he doesn't know what he's doing, but he does.
He does.
You know, I think it's a gimmick. If you line up the right hand like he did with Spilka, you remember what he did with Spilka? And then he explained it. I lined it up. Listen, if you were just throwing a shot and caution to the wind, you would know the concept of lining up a shot.
No, you wouldn't. No.
You know, so he's already like, okay, you're giving yourself away. Well, I lined that shot up and I took it. Well, yeah, you knew to line it up, though. Yes, you just didn't throw a shot and just because I got power. No, you had to know when to throw that shot. You had the time to throw that shot, and you knew it had to land in order for you to, you know. No, I don't buy that either. So you got a good point there. And speaking of Wilder, Joshua, who do you have right now if those guys were to fight?
It's a genuine 50-50.
Generally,
I think Joshua's got the power to hurt anybody. Wilder's got the power to hurt anyone. I don't think it's just a case of who lands first. I think it's more than that. That almost sounds like a computer game. I think it's who can implement their game plan.
Right.
You know, who can set up a knockout shot. But you know, at this stage in both their career, you know, we always get these fights later than we wanted. But if it does happen, good, box ticked. You know, so yeah, I think it's 50-50.
Okay, now this is going to be a hard question. This was asked for from the trenches. Who's the biggest fighter or the biggest fight you have coming out of your training camp now?
Well, I'll have to go with the guy that's got the most fights, which is Yusuf Kamari, super Yusuf Kamari.
Okay.
He's going to be his 18th fight, and he's trying to get through the domestic level and then move forward. So yep, he's one. But I've got very, very good prospects in my gym. Like I said, Saddam Amam, a female boxer. New kid I've got, Jesse Brandon. Just got an outstanding knockout on a Wasserman card. He looks the goods. I've got a lot of good fighters in my gym, but I'm talking about the guys that are, on a TV platform at the moment. And those two guys at the moment seem to be, working their way up there. But yeah, there's a lot of noise coming out of my gym at the moment. So yeah, I'll just go for the guy that I had for a very, very, very long time, and the one that's about to have a big fight. I think it'd just be fair to obviously push that.
Okay. Who else? Who else is fighting? What do you think about Daniel Dubois, Alexander Usyk?
Say again?
Daniel Dubois, Alexander Usyk. Daniel Dubois has a shot at the WBA heavyweight title. Of course, Usyk is the unified champion. What do you think the outcome of that fight? Do you think Daniel Dubois has enough to go in there and steal all those belts from the Ukrainian heavyweight champion?
Well, I said this a few years ago, and I'm not avoiding the question, honestly. But in my personal opinion, you've got a boxer, and if you put him in a position to fight for an interim or regular, and he wins, you don't pick and choose. Once you get there, to me, you get there, and you should be looking to fight the best. If your fighter's not ready, then you shouldn't be looking to pick up regular or interims. Like, to me, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, if he's ready to go, he's ready to go. Do you understand what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yes, he should be. If he's put in some position, he should be fighting him. It's up to his team to create the best game plan and see what they can do with Usyk. Usyk, to me, is another level. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be fighting him, though, because you got that regular belt, or I don't know what belt he's actually got, but you got that belt for a reason. It's a pathway. Okay, then you should be ready to take that path. Otherwise, you don't go for those belts. You build your fighter up, and you go for those belts later down the line when your fighter is ready. So that's always been my honest opinion on these fights. It's like, you get guys like in a stacked division, like let's say a lightweight division or a super featherweight division, and a guy will have he'll have one of the belts, and he's not looking to fight the other champions, well, because they're supposedly supposed to be better. Well, then you shouldn't have got the belt in the first place, then, because that means you're going to be ducking and dodging. That means it wasn't your time. Right. Once you get there, you should be looking to fight the other guys, like Spence and Crawford. They want to fight each other because the belts are all tied up between the two of them. Shouldn't really be looking outside of that fight. That's the fight you should be looking at. Just like, Tank. It's fine. It's exciting performance against Ryan Garcia, but the champion is Devin Haney. That's the guy, to me, you should be looking to try and fight. And I know there's a lot of different. I know guys are built in a certain way, and you want to maximize the most amount of money. The biggest fights, but it gets to a point where you can't call yourself number one if you don't have them. If you don't have those belts, you can't call yourself number one. Now, if you don't care about the belts, then fine, just say that and just keep doing what you're doing. But don't walk around saying, yeah, I'm the guy. Because to me, I'm not a casual fan. I'm into, this is my life. I'm into boxing deep. So I look at those guys that are looking to do that. Josh Taylor's another one. He wanted to fight the best guys to get those belts. He had to work hard to get them. I didn't think he won the Prograis fight, to be honest with you. I thought Prograis won that fight by a round, but that's not the point. You wanted to fight him, and it was a very close fight. So you get respect. You got all the belts, and you did it beating good guys on the way there. And now you're looking to move to another division. So again, once you get there, to me, you're there. You should be looking at the top guys. That's like me. That's like Yusuf going, dominating the domestic scene, and he's moving on to, let's say, world level. And you win one of the belts, but you start picking and choosing which guys you want to fight when you get up there. Then he wasn't ready. That's just my view on it. And obviously, managers and promoters, they look at boxing different, and they have to, because they've got to maximize their boxer's career and their potential. They've got to make the most of their prime and get the most they can out of them, because obviously the more the boxer makes, the more everybody makes in and around them. So I get it, but me looking in as looking at boxing as a sport, that's the way I look at it.
And Josh Taylor, speaking of Josh Taylor, what do you think, and who do you have, Taylor or Teofimo?
That's why I love my gym as well, because we're always having these conversations. But again, one of the guys in the gym was talking about Teofimo the other day, and I said, hold on, stop. Hold on. This guy has gone from beating Kome to beating Lomachenko, fighting Kambosos. Then he's gone and fought a Sandor Martin, and now he's fighting a Josh Taylor, and you're questioning his agenda and his CV and his projection of his career. You've got to be crazy. He's someone you got to step back and say, you know what? He's trying to fight the best guys. You can't question that. And if he's having, obviously, if every now and then his performance is not the greatest, but you're fighting top guys. What do you expect? If you fight the best guys, the fights are going to be competitive. There's a chance you might lose if you fight the best guys. If you want to walk around saying I've got an unbeaten record and you don't fight the best guys, then I'm more interested in the guys that are trying to fight the best guys. To me, that's why I say Evander Holyfield to me is my favorite, because his resume is crazy, and coming from a lighter weight to do it, and a 2-weight undisputed champion. You can talk about all these undefeated guys all you want. They did not achieve undisputed in 2 weights or become a 4-time world champion as a natural light heavyweight. You can keep your O. That, to me, that's a real fighter. No one would ever question or query that guy's resume, because he Michael Moorer twice, Riddick Bowe 3 times, Tyson twice, Lennox Lewis twice. Come on, this is boxing. Yeah. That's why when you're having, don't get. I'm speaking to everybody on your channel. When you're talking to certain people about boxing, you have to check them when they start talking about certain fighters and the fights they're having. If it's a close fight, it's because they are fighting the best.
No, man. Hey,
and
man.
That's the way it should be. I'm not. No one should be negative about the result of Crawford and Spence. They're the 2 best guys. One's got to win, one's got to lose. But as long as they get in there and we get a decider, that's good. Good for boxing. The other guy can still come again, or a rematch. Yeah. At least when you finished your career, I did try to fight number 1. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've seen for the most part, we've seen fighters fighting each other. That's why fights that didn't happen were so amplified, because it normally didn't happen. Riddick Bowe Lewis. You know what I mean? That was a fight that everyone talked about, because that was the one fight that didn't take place that we actually wanted to see, that should have happened.
Should have.
Now we have more fights that don't happen, and it's more like the standard. And it's like, no, the standard should be everybody's supposed to fight everybody, and so when we do see these type fights, like we've seen the showcase fight between Ryan and Ryan and Tank. So you got Tank, and and he's bounced around, but we know the history of Tank. Ryan, we know the history of Ryan, and none of those guys did what Devin Haney did. None of them. Those guys didn't do that. I mean, look, Devin Haney left Matchroom. He made a business decision to get this opportunity. And he didn't just sit on it. He didn't have to fight Loma, but he did. He ain't just sitting on the belt saying like, hey, you guys bow down before me now. I'm good. No, he's fighting Lomachenko, and Lomachenko is still, for what I can tell, is a live wire. How live of a wire, I don't know. We'll see on the day.
He's live. He's live. But again, I've got Haney winning that fight. But if he was to lose that fight, I've got more respect for you trying to defend your undisputed titles against someone of that level. I think those 2 guys in particular, I think Tio and Devin, I think their level of competition is slightly above the rest in that lightweight division to me. looking in on the outside. And I like, obviously, Shakur's there now. He's a guy to me that's probably going to end up wanting to fight everybody. He looks like he has that sort of way about him that he wants to just prove that I'm number one. We need that. We need that. We need these guys to fight each other. It's okay for us to have rematches and trilogies. It's okay. Bo Holyfield 3 times. It's fine. Rafael Marquez and Vasquez 4 times. Pacquiao Marquez 4 times. It's okay. That's what boxing was. That's what boxing was. There's nothing wrong with it. That's why I have more respect for certain fighters than others, even though I respect everybody. But I know what it is you're trying to do. I respect it.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely, man. I do agree
Oh,
with
but
you.
respect to your guy Biff Tannen. Back in the day, the heavyweights, they were trying to fight. They were trying to fight each other, man. And and that's what we need. When you finish your career, you want to look at your resume and say, you know what, I tried to fight everybody in my era. I tried.
This guy, speaking of peace, all roads lead to Fury. Just saw it for.
Crazy.
Oh man, it's crazy. But nah, I hope not. Yeah, because that's but I don't, Derek, he's in a good place right now. He's doing good. He has a pretty outside the ring job. So that may not happen. But then again, a fighter is a fighter at the end of the day. So, I mean, if I'm Derek Chisora and I get called for another Tyson Fury fight, I think I'm going to go for that money too. If I'm
I wasn't that hot on it before, but I wouldn't mind seeing a Dillian White and Derek Chisora third fight.
3?
Yeah, the first 2 were good, very competitive. Yeah. So yeah, I could adapt I can understand that. I didn't understand the Fury and Chisora third fight. I didn't understand it because the first 2 were, pretty straightforward. And what happened in the third fight was pretty much happened in the first and second. So that one, I didn't quite understand it. But again, listen, there's business reasons. Like Derek will sell out, Fury will sell out the stadium. So you got to have the right dance partner. So financially, I understand it. But as a competitive boxing match, the first 2 fights with Derek and Dillian were really good. I was at the first one, great fight. I didn't think about it in that way before, but yeah, I think it would make a really good fight. And they've got both their fan bases are really, they've got huge fan bases, both of them. So obviously it'll make a.
Yeah, man. And a lot of people thought that Derek won the first fight. So it was a very close fight. And
we're split. We're split in my gym. Yeah. That's a conversation in my gym. Like the other head coach, he had it to Derek. Me, I had it to Dillian. And I didn't know any of them when they had that first fight. So I'm not being biased at all. I thought Dillian was just a little bit of cleaner work. I like the explosive burst from Derek, though. That's what made the fight so much fun. But yeah, I could see why you'd have a third fight.
Man, I have to mention, man, shout out to KS, man. I love that shirt you got on. Yeah, Kevin Samuels.
Listen, this guy, rest in peace, man. This brother here. I'm telling you, it's not. I don't think people understand how influential or how important his lies were, because people took a lot of it too personally. But when you actually stripped it down, and listen to what he was saying in our community, it's a serious conversation. Things are not going the way they should be. We're not building the way we should be as Black people. Right. And people are on there getting very sensitive. You didn't need to listen to what the guy was saying. Look at what happened with your family before you. Look what happened to your grandparents, your great grandparents, how they went about their business, how they lived off what they had and they were happy. A lot of people have too much high expectations and unrealistic ones. And I thought it was great. It's just a shame every time we get someone of this stature that is delivering a strong message like this, we end up losing them in some way.
And you have to compare it to what used to be versus what is. And you can only see night and day as a result.
Yes.
And that's going from obesity, the way you lived your life, your marital status, the way a family was put together versus what it is now. It's just night and day, and I enjoy listening to him, because you have to, you have to strip away, how you feel about certain things and look at the facts.
Yeah.
You know, the pragmatic facts. That's what he was telling people. He just wasn't like, oh, hi, how are you? No, he was just, hey, how you doing? What you got for me? It is basically like a survey, but from a humanized point of view that's not catered to make you feel good. You know what I mean? It's to tell you what is expected and to tell you the facts. So, yeah, I seen that shirt. I'm like, oh, man, that's Kevin Samuels there.
Yeah. I actually forgot for a second that I had it on. But he's great guy, man, honestly. Like, rest in peace, man. But you know what? It's a good thing. Yeah. As I said, when I mentioned social media earlier, no matter what, those videos, those conversations, those arguments, those debates, they're going to live on. And I think they're doing the rounds, and it's great. It's great that I think it's good for a lot of our younger generation. Our males, females in their 20s. It's good for them to listen to people's stories, and so that they don't make the same sort of mistakes, because a lot of it is, I was young, so that's why this happened. From the time you're 20, you're an adult. These decisions are going to affect you later. So it's okay for you to make it, but you should encourage those coming up behind you, to try not to make the same mistakes. Work together. Build. It's important. It's a very important message that he was putting across. So yeah, honestly, yeah, shout out to him. Rest in peace, man.
Absolutely, man. Well, man, Xavier, man, I appreciate you coming on. I know you're a busy person, busy guy. I appreciate your expertise, your punches throughout. Shout out to Pro B's. I thank you for coming on, man. We got to do it again. Maybe we can do a live watch a fight together. If you got time to watch a feed or something like that, we'll do something in the future. But I enjoyed you, man. I know the people that respect boxing. I see the comments land on here, and then of course people will watch it throughout. But man, thank you for coming on to my platform, and you are invited for the next time. So
I'll come. Yeah, I'll gladly come on anytime, because I think me and you had some communication early, and the respect has always been there, and you've always spoken very positively and highly of me, and I appreciate that, because a lot of people, they don't actually understand where you've actually come from, or your journey, or who you've been involved in. It's just like you get thrust in, and then, well, I don't know this guy.
Right.
That's why there's a lot of guys I do listen to. Again, another one of great guys at the Boxing Voice, Guard Your Grill Boxing. One of the first platforms to listen to was Guard Your Grill Boxing, and we speak regularly. And we speak regularly now. Those guys, they had one of the best boxing channels. Like, before all these guys came out, they were one of the first, one of the pioneers from Guard Your Grill Boxing. So shout out to those guys. And Ness always, and Danny always speak positively about me, and always invite me on this stuff. So, I'll be glad to come onto your platform anytime, brother. Anytime.
Man, you're invited, and I thank you for coming on. Hey, man, God bless you. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you on the next one, man.
No problem. Take care, bro. See you soon.
All right, you too, man. Peace. So, guys, man, that was a great time we had with Mr. Miller. I got a lot of things to do. Got more videos, of course, to make content about. But as promised, we came to you with Mr. Miller, and it was a pleasure. I thank everybody for coming on. I know it's a bit earlier than I'm accustomed to, but hey, it's all UK time. So, it's time to grind all the time. So you guys, man, thank you all for coming in once again. Jonathan Jerome, don't worry about it, man. Just go back and watch it. Don't beat yourself up. No, but it's a lot of informative things in this particular interview. But you guys, man, thank you once again. Be blessed, be safe, and everyone has been counterpunched. Peace.